The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Friday, the 17th day of February, 2023. Welcome to the Daily Hour. Brought to you by Medical House, One Communications, and Lindos. I'm Jamal Hartman. She's Sherry Vanderpool and Maya Palacio will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in her news break, brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Well, Sherry, how are you? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Jamal. I'm just, was back here jamming to the, the intro gets me pumped up.
Oh, okay. That's what does it for you, huh?
Yeah. It's not you, so it's got to be the intro.
Oh, right. I mean, I just thought, I played somewhere. But, hey, that's the point of the intro music, to get people pumped up, get their energy going, get people in the mood, especially for today. Today, people find out how much more they're going to hate the government, right? Today, they find out how much more incompetent or not their government is. Today, people find out, just how bad or good the financial state of the country is. Today, they find out, the promise of the economy or lack thereof. So big day, and we need some excitement. So hopefully you can dance into today like everyone else. Good morning to you, Cousin Mark. We'll see you hopefully this weekend at the TDH Community Cleanup with KBB. Good morning, Sister Marcia, the good sister, Marcia, Robin Patricia Bradshaw. Yes, we hope to see you this weekend as well.
You gotta be there.
And nephew, he could probably get a performance dance while we're cleaning, something like that. Sister Tamara, she says, morning, Mark, in Jamaican patois. Hold up. Morning, Mark. Help me, Sherry.
No, I can't. I cannot.
Tamara's working on me. She's just working on me. Good morning.
That was my challenge.
Good morning to your sister, Tanya Cheeseman, as well. Hope to see you as well, Tanya. Hopefully we can see you and meet you all in person this weekend as we do our community cleanup with KBB. And if you want to join us, just send an email to engage@thedailyhour.com. I almost forgot the email address. Anyway, greetings, everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today as we welcome Cordell Riley. He's a research statistician. Did I pronounce that right? Statistician.
Hey, that was good. Just reel with that. That was pretty good.
Yeah. Statistician. Yeah, I think I got it. We're discussing what the data tells us about the state of Bermuda's tourism industry because, I got some stats about Florida and Bermuda tourism on the same morning, and it was just so interesting. I shared on my WhatsApp status. This is them and this is us kind of thing. We'll discuss the stories around tourism numbers, what they actually mean, what is actually propaganda versus what's real. So looking forward to that conversation. The Daily Play is things you should know, Sherry.
Because I haven't been, it's nothing that I have known this week, I'll tell you that. Aruba.
You knew this. Well, you always know it when you're not on. It's like I told you, Wheel of Fortune. You know it when you're watching on TV, once you get stage fright, once you're in the hot seat. Anyway, if you haven't already, folks, just register for the TDH community. Just go on our YouTube channel and you can hit join. Not sure why you haven't, but it's very easy to do. We'd love to have you on board as an official member of the TDH community so that you don't miss a chance to do some rewarding things with all of us. That said, as I mentioned earlier, it is budget day in Bermuda. this could be
B-Day.
a great day for everyone, or just more of the same. So the question is very direct, very straightforward, and we put it on our Instagram, and we'll share some responses we got on our Instagram page. But it's what would you like to see in the 23-24 government budget being delivered today? What would you like to see? And Sherry, do you mind if I go through some of the Instagram responses?
Oh, it's Friday. Go right ahead, Jamal.
Okay, so this Friday, February 17th, let's find Instagram. I am okay. Question is, what would you like to see in the government's 23-24 budget speech? And well, that's not what I meant to do. Here we go. So we have what is wrong? Let's go through some responses. So we got one response: a plan to reduce government spending. Well, I think many people would agree with that. What would you like to see in the government's 23-24 budget speech? A plan to reduce government spending. That was a suggestion that was given back. Another one, the plan for attracting investment, right? The plan for attracting investment. We've spoken on this show numerous times about attracting investment. We've spoken numerous times about, immigration, getting people into Bermuda. That will help government coffers. So plan for attracting investment. Again, another response on Instagram, proper business practice. Kind of don't know what that means, but I don't disagree with it. I think proper business practice should be a good thing around. And another response to what would you like to see in the government's 23-24 budget speech? A real effort to slash spending and privatize some government services. Interesting. First off, we'll ask later about privatization of government services, because I find that interesting. I know it was a split thing because people feel like privatization means more cost because it's businesses looking for a profit. So that's interesting. And then another one, what would you like to see in the government's 23-24 budget speech? Act like grown-ups and spend money like this, burning a hole in their pocket and not spend money. I think they need to not spend money. Yeah, but those are some of the responses we got on Instagram. First off, yes or no, folks? Are you going to be tuned into the budget today? Are you going to be tuned into the government's budget today? Yes or no? Yes or no? Will you be tuned into the government budget today? Yes or no? Like, are you even interested in it, in the government's budget? Sherry, are you going to tune in?
Probably not, Jamal. I'll just be very honest. Probably not. But as what is interesting, everyone's discussing or indicating, business and those sort of things. And I look at that. I want, of course, the budget to also look at.
We didn't ask you that yet. Why are you getting all there? I'll try.
Yes, I can.
That's the problem. You can, and you did it. No, but seriously, no. I want to get into that, but I only asked will you be tuning in because I want the audience. I just want to figure out, because I saw quite a few people saying, "Nope, I'm not tuning in, Sherry," but I'll read about that. I don't want to hear people, performing. I don't want to hear people performing. So it's interesting. I actually have an appointment at the same time, like legit. Tried to change it. The budget starts 9 a.m. Bermuda time. My appointment's 9 a.m. 9 a.m. U.S. time, East Coast, and my appointment's 9 a.m. U.S. East Coast time. So what I'm going to do is I forgot I had these little boys. I'm going to have these in my ear while I'm at my appointment and try to tune in there. But folks, if you're unable to tune into the budget, honestly, and you don't have to, because I get the people who are saying they don't want to do the performance, Sherry, like they just don't want to hear it. Just skim through it, scroll through it, skim it, and pick out some key points. I just think you should at least know what's in it.
And I can agree to that. Like, I would do the same, skim over it and see, or, Jamal will send me some of the highlights, or I might just ask him, did they cover this?
Well,
but yeah.
Maya could help us out a bit, send us a little something,
Yeah, absolutely right. Like my resources, right?
Yeah. She can help us out. Let's see. So are you going to be tuning into the budget? Traveling Trotty says yes. Michelle White says heck yes. DeVito O'Brien says yes. NTS, like a lot of other people on social media, says no. Go read the highlights later. I saw that quite a bit. Tanya Cheeseman says no, work deadlines. Sean Smith says yes. Tanya Cheeseman says we'll read the report later. Traveling Charlie says I have encouraged my college students to tune in as well. Interesting.
Thank you.
That's good. That's good. So now we've got that out of the way. What would you all like to see in the 23-24 budget? You heard what we said from Instagram. You heard what our Instagram people said. They said, what was it, Sherry? You remember? A plan?
Business, a plan, investments.
Yes. A plan. Hold on. I forget. My memory's not, I'm almost your age,
And I remembered. So I don't know what that means.
You didn't say a plan for what? So you remember.
I said business, investment, more investments. Don't the government not to spend money like it's burning a hole in the pocket. What else you got?
The funniest thing. Well, it's a plan to reduce government spending. It said the plan for attracting investment, which I think you said. Proper business practice. A real effort to slash spending and privatize some government services. Let's talk on that real fast, because we've heard people say kind of be against that over the years. What government services do you think should be privatized? I'm interested to see what people like. Do you think public transportation? Do you think the postal service? Like, what government services? What should government slash that's a need that should be privatized? I'm very interested.
I feel like I've heard garbage services before, right? Have you not heard that?
Yep, I've heard that.
Yeah, I've heard that. Definitely transportation. I've heard that before. For me, what does that look like? I don't have the frame of idea of what that would look like because it's so accustomed for it to be a government entity. So for me, I'm just like, how would that look? Would we have like 5 different? Is there a cap on how many private organizations can be involved in this? How does that look? And not that I'm opposed to it, I just don't know what a plan of that nature would entail.
Yeah. Interesting. I agree with you. I think there's more questions to what does privatization look like for each entity that would be considered, to go that way, whether it's trash and Traveling Trotty says trash and public transportation come to mind. And we've heard the postal service over the years. So question of the morning, folks, what would you like to see in the 23-24 government budget being delivered today? Traveling Trotty said a strategy to attract more foreign investment. Sean DeShield says the privatization of the BTA is long overdue. Well, a lot of people have short memories, but if I'm not mistaken, David Dudwell actually used to say when the BTA was coming in and as it came in that it would be private in 3 years. Am I mistaken in that? Am I remembering correctly? I think that's exact. If I don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure he said within 3 years. Well, it's been 9 years, 2014 to 2023, 9 years, and the BTA is still getting government funding. So let's see today how much funding they get from the government. And it's not like they can do like what many destinations and jurisdictions do outside. Like they get most of their funding not from the government. Well, it's agreed from government, but it comes from room tax, right? Bermuda doesn't have enough rooms for the BTA to survive over bed tax, right? They don't have it. No, let's say that's where their funding did come from. I tell you what, it'll help them run like a real organization. They wouldn't have all these positions and overpaid people because now they would understand, if we don't have this amount of people in these rooms and collecting this tax, we don't get paid. Oh boy, we're going somewhere this morning.
That would be quite different.
Michelle White says the problem with privatization is us paying for a service that we already paying for through our taxes. With that said, they're reducing taxes, so maybe it's a reality. Well, not necessarily. If it's private, it shouldn't be being paid through your taxes, right? If the entity is fully private, if they make buses private, it's up to that private entity to fix the buses and pay for the buses, not the taxpayer. You're paying now just only for the service to ride the bus. That's what I thought privatization was. Tell me if I'm wrong. Ines Luby says, what is the panel going to be open to bring folks to give up their, when is the panel going to open to bring folks up to give their views?
I
Well,
guess during the budget, is there a time for people to speak? I'm reading a lot into that.
yeah, just help me understand what you mean, Ines, real quickly. But this is a big day. It's a big day, and I say it's a big day because, if you remember last year, the Minister of Finance have resigned. Curtis Dickinson had resigned not too long before the budget speech, and in fairness to Premier Burt, who took over the ministry, he didn't have much time to kind of put together his budget. So now, he's been finance minister a year, and it's a budget. And if the reports are to be believed, he says no one's going to pay more taxes, this or that. I think Bermudians just really want to see a financial plan that makes sense even to the layman.
Yes, i.e. me.
They want to see, like, I think Bermudians understand math pretty well. They understand that, we can't keep saying we're spending $5, but government payroll and government expenditure is $7. Like, you learn this in school at the top level. Like, you're just going to be paying on debt, and with debt you're paying interest, right? So I think in layman terms, people want to see a plan on how government is reducing spending, and in a certain time period. Like, what is the timeline for doing so?
Does government look at other, and I know Bermuda's unique in some aspects, but do they go outside and look at how other governments are doing for the ones that are doing well and being able to give back to their people, or be able to be supportive of the community? Like, do they do that
The answer to that is
to?
yeah, Sherry. I mean, I think that it's like business, right? I think everybody has great business ideas. They look at other people. They say, man, I can do that. I'd like to do that. It's not about, like, not seeing what others are doing or not knowing what to do. It's actually having the ability to execute, and I think Bermuda
Right.
lacks as a government, as a jurisdiction, we lack the ability to execute.
And
We're
stay consistent.
we're in a place. Well, that's the thing. We're consistent. We're just consistently bad.
hmm
We're,
And
we're
then
bad.
what I mean in consistency, when I've also found that, and we look at five different, and when one doesn't work, we immediately jump to go to another, and then immediately jump to go to another. Then we spent money over here, and then it's like, oh no, let's go over here and spend money to do this, and then we'll go over here, spend, and then nothing gets done, and we're just in the same space.
I mean, you're writing a book on how poor the government is. Michael Daniels says,
That's not
increased
what I
effort
say.
to inform the general population about the reality of our politics. We still have 60,000 opinions. Ines Luby says, will you be opening up your panel so folks can join your live to give their viewpoints? Well, it's not publicly announced yet, but as I said yesterday, I'll be involved in something with the budget, which will probably be made public over the next couple of days. So stay tuned. And yes, the public will very much be involved with that. So
Secrets.
yeah, look out for that, Ines. Michelle White says, I mean that our taxes pay for garbage collections, hence, as well as bus staffing, maintenance. If privatized, we will pay the truck and increase bus fare and still pay taxes. That privatization doesn't mean that, does it? Privatization means that if garbage collection is private, then it's up to the private entity to pay them, not the taxpayer.
Mm-hmm.
That's what unless I'm mistaken, someone in the audience correct me, if the buses went private, it would not be the taxpayer paying for the staffing or the maintenance. That would be up to the private entity.
Mm-hmm. It's like where I live right now in Georgia. My garbage is private. There's like 3 or 4 different companies that come through my neighborhood to pick up trash, but it's not it's not something that we pay for outside of that.
Yeah, and I mean, again, I could be wrong, Michelle, but private. I don't. Let me say this: don't look at the BTA as privatization. That's not privatization. That is, I don't even. It's a poor partnership or relationship between the government and
It's toxic.
a Quango. Yeah. Charles H. Jefferson II says, to Cheryl's question, many U.S. cities take leaders, government, and private sector to other cities to see how they do things. Well,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you, Charles.
Some countries even bring people home from other U.S. cities and jurisdictions and don't listen to them, Charles. I'm just saying. Jamal McHale says, you're right, Jamal. That's what privatization means. And Charles H. Jefferson II says, I don't believe Bermuda does that or ever has. Which part, Charles? Privatization? And then Titan Express says, CARICOM is having meetings now on trading industries and economies, and Bermuda is not there. But we have to keep in mind Bermuda is a colony, and the governor had to sign off on international affairs. Not just a colony, but a happy colony. We've got to bring Maya Palacio into the conversation.
Yes. We're going to get in trouble with Jamalias, not me.
Don't try throw me like player. I'm on time. I'm on time, right? You're trying to throw me, Sherry. And yeah, anyway, Maya's coming in. After Maya gives us her news break, we're going to have Cordell Riley coming on. We're going to be discussing the some tourism statistics. And if you missed it yesterday, Maya gave a very in-depth report regarding the stats that the BTA released. But we're going to delve a bit deeper. So tune into this and make sure you share it with anyone who has an interest in Bermuda and its tourism product. Rosalind Famous says Bermuda is at the CARICOM. So she said we are represented at the CARICOM meetings. So that's to the previous comment by Titan Express. All right, let's bring Maya Palacio in for your daily hour news break, folks. And don't forget, after that, we will be having Mr. Cordell Riley. He is a research statistician. How do you pronounce it? Statistician.
Statistician. You did so well the first time.
Research statistician. All right, here we go.
Good morning, good morning.
Good
Morning, Maya girl.
Morning, Sherry.
Oh, what's all this energy?
And Jamal.
Yeah, Jamal.
Not to mention that I was the one that showed up to work this morning. It's like, hey, sunshines. And both of them were like, Sherry, signed up. Yeah, and I was like, oh, I didn't hear you. What'd you say? Like, I was trying to bring the energy. But hey, that's all they
You were. I won't deny that.
A day late. It was a day late.
You already had the hair situation. I haven't forgot about that. So
wow. I'm getting better.
Maya.
Getting better at this. Maya, I don't know if you can give an opinion on today's conversation. I mean, do you wanna or do you want to just say, you know what?
What I want to hear in the budget today, I would love to hear some closing answers to all the long form questions that we have been draining out this past year. Just some concrete answers instead of you assume that this is happening, but it hasn't really been signed off or approved or anything. You're just throwing out hope. And I would rather have actual answers and proof than hope.
Oh, I love that, Maya. That is, yeah.
I think what she just said, for those in layman terms, what she said is she prefers results over hope. Yeah. Those results, the things that you keep talking about that you don't do. I'm sorry. I'm trying to stop.
Moving on to the news this morning. Good morning, everyone. This is the Daily Hour News Break brought to you by People's Pharmacy. And we're topping the news this morning with actually more updates on Kiawi Flood on his case that was the first murder case in Bermuda. So a second suspect wanted in relation to the murder of Kiawi Flood was arrested approximately at 11 a.m. yesterday. The 19-year-old male was arrested when the officers executed a firearms warrant at a Dundonald Street, Pembroke residence. The 20-year-old man from Devonshire arrested in connection with the investigation into Mr. Flood's murder remains in police custody at this time.
The saddest thing about this is it's not just the person that's murdered, right? I always say when someone is murdered, they're gone. They're not feeling the pain. It's those they leave behind. But also, not just their loved ones, but the person who's charged and then, they're convicted. It's so many lives impacted from this very one sad occasion, but we've
And
got to do
unfortunate and unnecessary.
absolutely.
Extremely unnecessary, especially when you think of just the amount of conversations we've had last year. I know we talked about whether or not we feel like we're already displaced when it comes to this information, as if we no longer have that feeling of when something this serious of a magnitude happens on a small island. So it's a lot psychologically and just mentally draining that this is happening, but I don't know how we're going to collect ourselves as a country. I know we had that huge lecture at Bermuda College about it, but it's still an ongoing affair. And talking about
And
Bermuda College, actually, there's going to be another lecture coming up. I'm sure Jamal knows a lot about this, but on February 28th at 6 p.m., there will be another lecture at Bermuda College, this one pertaining particularly to tourism in Bermuda. The topic is From Rags to Riches, Strategizing the Way Forward for Bermuda's Tourism Sector. So if you're available, I would definitely encourage everyone to come out to that segment lecture as well. Jamal would actually be a panelist up there speaking alongside Charles Jeffords, Kieran McDonald, and Cordell Riley, who we have speaking here today. And Sean
I just want to say this about it. I love doing this show because the audience. Sancho shared something in the group this morning, guy on Twitter, and I saw it yesterday, and I was encouraged by what he said in terms of growing population, because I was just going through clips of the shows. Remember, I edit every show, I go through them, and I see what the audience says, and I hear what we say. Everything that's said on this show, people tweet. Like, if people want to have great conversations, this is the place to have it, with solutions to many of the things. Like Sherry just asked, does the government go overseas and look at what other places are doing? They can come into this space every morning, and if this audience gives solutions. Why do I say that?
they do.
This event at the Bermuda College for Tourism, this is all of Bermuda's future. Just because you don't work in the tourism space, you still benefit from it. When Bermuda tourism does well, it impacts how many taxes you're going to have to pay. It impacts whether your roads are going to be paved. It impacts your economy, how you're going to fund your schools. I actually do advocacy right now. I do community engagement. That's my space in tourism. I understand the impact of tourism to a destination. I don't quite think a lot of Bermudians do, but in particular, the high flying, big paying, big spending, and high paying people who are supposed to be selling the product. This is why I think it should be privatized. Like Sean said, the challenge with that is privatization. With full privatization comes responsibility. And with that responsibility, you know how a business operates. If you're not making money to support yourself, you have to go out, take out a loan, like our government.
Yeah.
What happens if you default on that loan? Somebody else earned you. Anyway, I'm done. Come out, check it out. Lecture at Bermuda College.
Yes, definitely. In other news, I want to talk about education actually going on right now. Today, while they go about the budget speech and the meetings, the Honorable Diallo Obeng will actually be tabling the Education Primary School Temporary Act 2023 bill. Now, this bill basically says that parish primary schools are supported and opening. So the very first two parish primary schools that will be opening is Francis Patton and Purvis Primary, coming this September of 2023. And he did also state that, yes, the goal is to eliminate middle schools and add the P7 and P8 to primary schools, starting again with Francis Patton and also Purvis Primary. But parents still have the option, if they want to enroll their children, into middle schools, if they still want to. And also, if there's any spaces left, other parents can see if they want the child to be in the P7 and P8 of Francis Patton and also Purvis Primary.
Okay.
So that's a new strategy.
Follow that closely, folks. Follow that closely.
Because I found it interesting that we're starting out with just two schools. I wondered, how does that work when it comes to the growth of the students getting to interchange and finally meet at the next levels. So there's a lot to think about when you're deciding whether or not you want to continue it or keep going to middle schools until more of them get more enrolled. Secondly, when it comes to education, they also mentioned that they're trying to have a third signature school, and that one's going to be the Sands Secondary School. I think we already announced that, but they did want it to be September 2023, but it's no longer likely that's going to happen. Even though this has been a very drawn out, long process within Bermuda, it's still got a long ways to go, but they're making the small strides, but it won't be this year. And he apologized for that. And it's going to possibly be next year for the Sands Secondary School being the next signature school in Bermuda.
Should have just left it alone. I'm going to say
I'm not
should
going
have
to
just left it alone years ago. We turned out just fine. Ever had Sarah Sands Secondary School?
Speak for yourself. We turned out quite fine.
Yeah, we did. Being able to go to schools that anyway.
I didn't turn out quite well, but Maya, what else you got?
Well, in accordance to the whole signature school things, I also want to mention that ABIC actually had this group session with about 15 different teachers, and they just got to like connect with them and kind of help with the preparations for implementing the government education reform agenda as well. So that happened on February 13th and 14th. And lastly, I know there's a lot going on with education right now, but they are also trying to implement 2 other like subjects within the signature schools, and that one being tourism and education.
Hopefully as tourism expert. I want to go back and tease Sherry for a bit. I blame Sherry's generation and the boomer generation for the messed up situation we're in. So no, I don't think the schools were great back then. I think they were worse. They prepared us for the mess that we're in now. So I disagree.
I disagree with you, Jamal.
Eurocentric system. No, honestly, from a true perspective, all jokes aside, the Eurocentric system has not been beneficiary for us. And I'm saying us as Black people. I think it's tarnished us. And I think all we've done is shifted and changed and this and that. Teo Dill used to say that for years and preached it, right? Eurocentric education has not benefited us. Rather, we're going to a historically Black college, whether we're in a Black church, whether we're joining a Black fraternity, sorority, great Black thing, it has not benefited us. So no, I disagree on a serious note, but all jokes aside, I just don't think, education, we're so afraid. We're so afraid to go and do it on our own. We are so afraid because the idea is to go from where we are into their institutions. And that's the reality of it. We have to prepare people for entrepreneurs. We need more Maya Palacios and people who are not going to be afraid. Education was killed, in my opinion, when in Bermuda's context, long before we were born. Well, even you, Sherry, with TAC. With Bermuda Technical Institute. I think that, to me, gave people opportunities to become entrepreneurs and go and do things with their own.
I think we've got 2 different type of views in that in regards to middle school and having primary and then high school, and just how that flowed back in the day, not necessarily the system itself.
But that's the thing, as Teo you say, there's no difference. There's no difference even in what GLO is changing. We think it is because of what it looks like, right? But is there? It's like a person who goes from being 300 pounds goes down to 150. We see it's different, but are they really healthier? Are they really better than they were? And the truth is, they could not be. And so I think it's more than what it looks like and feels like. The system never really changed. All that changed was the structure in which the students progressed through that system.
I think the structure was a little bit more beneficial than it is now. I can
say that I quickly want to speak on my experience before I end this news break, but it's just, I feel from someone who went to middle school, I hated my experience, extremely hated it. Like, I go on about how much I hated my middle school experience. So I am encouraged by this new system, and I personally would want to try out this new system if I had the chance. I've never been a fan of middle schools, but I will also say that I'm also not a fan of school systems in general, just like in general, because I think it does teach us how to clock out, how to work from 8 till like 5 or whatever. And it makes no sense to have that much of your life in one day be taken away and controlled by somebody else. Like, that's a lot of hours. And it also just disconnects the family, in my opinion, because you're spending most of your life with other people. You're not even at home with your parents, being able to learn from them, learn culture, learn experiences, teach different trades, all that type of stuff. Like, you miss out on that because of this system that was created so long ago just to have students out of the house and just to create people who know how to clock in and clock out.
But I want to touch on this because I did not call Sherry a boomer. I said her generation and boomers. I didn't call her a boomer.
I ignore short people.
What Maya said though, and I don't know if Sherry was a part of the Daily Owl and Ellen Kate Horton drove home this point. The worst thing for Bermuda was the old system, and she explained it in terms of what it did. You had to take a freaking test that really told you you were dumb if you didn't get into Berkeley or Academy and you weren't.
No, I agree
One
with
of the
that.
worst things for our children, and she went in depth about it. And so for me, when you understand the depth of it, is the Eurocentric, I agree with Rashida. It was putting lipstick on a pig. Just because we went through it and we think it was better, this whole system is tied together. And so I said I remember saying to Teo and Colonel Birch back in the late 2000s, exactly what the government's doing now. No, we need specialized schools, technical school, sports school. And they disagreed with me. And I understand why they disagree. And I actually agree with them for disagreeing now. Because what they were saying is, it's the same damn system. You're just putting lipstick on a pig, basically. So we have to go in depth about it. We're looking at what it looks like, what it feels like. We have to, and it's almost like the finance thing, why I'm doing this finance thing. I was challenged last year by one of our sponsors. We can't have surface level conversations on this show. We have to go in depth. Because if we continue to do that, we're not taking care of the problems. We're not really driving solutions. What we're doing is exactly what Rashida Godwin said, putting lipstick on a pig. That's not how it should look. That's why when people kept saying, we were talking about yesterday, what's the solution to the ending conscription? The same solution to ending slavery, which was freedom. No, you don't like that solution. But folks, we can't keep putting lipstick on a pig. Barack Obama told us that in 2007. What else you got for us, Mike?
Okay, I'm going to close it out now, so I am skipping a news or two, but I want to let everyone know that the Bermuda Center for Creative Learning is having their February Freeze plunge this morning at 10 a.m. at Admiralty House. So here's a quick little cover of the image here. Now, I do really want to be a part of this. I came a little bit late coming home from my trip, but this is something really awesome that if you are able to go to it, and if you can donate, please donate. I'll give you a little bit of background of what the BCCL is. And basically they are a center for creative learning that began in 2015 as a private school for children beginning at the age of 6 who are struggling in a traditional school setting. Most students have been assessed and diagnosed with a language-based learning deficiency, such as dyslexia, math impediments, or even writing impairments and other difficulties that can affect learning and behavior. So they are very specialized in helping students in that way. And they're the only school really on the island that can cater and help with this, with these type of learning disabilities as well. So if you're able this morning, get out there. And if you see that banking detail right there, if you donate right now, at least 5 of you, I would actually go out there and jump in the water myself if you really want to see it. But that's
they've gotten great results. Great results.
My only concern is the same time as the budget, right? And my hope is that it doesn't, that what they're trying to do isn't impacted by the reading of the budget.
I don't think it will be, but that is a good point to put out. And I'm just going to end with the weather this morning, everyone. So it's going to be sunny periods, clouds thickening at some times, but it doesn't really cause for a chance of rain for us today. So that's really great. And we have a high of 71 degrees Fahrenheit.
Is it going to be rain on Sunday,
I can check that.
Yeah, no, because I'm just
Sunday is going to be bright daytime, sky turns cloudy, and a light rain forms over the nighttime. So it should be really bright and sunny throughout the whole entire day, and a high of 67.
Okay. What you got days of the year, Sherry?
Oh, right. Today is, because I did forget about myself, Caregivers Day. And on this day, we honor individuals who selflessly provided personal care and physical and emotional support to those who need it most. There are different types of caregivers who are just not limited to the health sector. We got family caregiver, private duty caregiver, and so forth. Some of them are not always paid, which is why it is essential to appreciate and thank them for their long-term commitment.
Interesting.
Happy Caregivers
Day. Sending love to all the caregivers, and not just those who are caregivers by trade and work for a living, but you got people taking care of family members, right, Sharon?
I do. So big hugs to them, and we really, really, really do appreciate you.
Absolutely. Before you go, Maya, Charles H. Jackson's out there playing you like that. So
Can I swim?
Oh, wow.
Playing you like that. I'm sorry.
I think every Bermudian can swim. Well, at least 90% of the population of Bermuda can swim.
Do you see that top square, girl? And it ain't mine.
You know what? On that note, knowing how to swim and not swimming are not the same, folks. I don't like to swim. See you on Sunday.
See you on Sunday, guys.
All right. Have a good one. Maya Palacio, folks. All right. It's like we're having 3 different conversations during the show now. The news breaks become the same thing. We've got Cordell Riley coming up. Do not miss this conversation. We're talking about tourism statistics, folks. Trust me. I'm sure the BTA are tuned in. They ain't got nothing better to do.
People's ACW, located at King Edward VII Memorial Hospital, carries over-the-counter medicines, toys, cards, and even toiletries. Our knowledgeable staff are there whether you're at emergency, visiting family, or a member of BHB staff, to show you our best even when you're feeling your worst. People's ACW, we're here for you.
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level. Wake up in the morning with enough coffee to keep you running throughout the entire day. Your pet at home deserves the best. Stock up on dog food to keep your puppy happy. Need a quick, tasty lunch at home? Your chicken nuggets will be jumping right out of the freezer. What's a movie night without popcorn? You can never have too much. Lindo's Next Level. Why go anyplace else?
Mom's celebrating her 70th birthday next month. Have you noticed her age is catching up with her?
Yeah. Plus, she's having a hard time getting up and around like she's used to. I would sure hate to see her fall.
At Medical House Limited, we can help make life situations easier. We have electric beds, motorized scooters, bath stools, walkers, you name it.
Mom's been real good to us. We'll get her birthday and Christmas gifts from Medical House.
Medical House has relocated next to the Dandytown Field, number 6 Bakery Lane, Pembroke. Telephone 292-3622.
Alrighty, welcome back to the Big Show. Sherry Vanderpool, I'm Jamal Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by Medical House, One Communications, Lindo's, and People's Pharmacy. Folks, if you haven't already, make sure you register to become a member of the TDH community. You can do that on our website. Just go on our website, thedailyhour.com, or you can just hit join on our YouTube channel. I'm laughing because I told you yesterday what I do during the break and just the WhatsApps coming through. I don't think I pick on the BTA, by the way. I just say what Sherry's thinking. That's it. That's
Put me into your vortex.
Without further ado, let's bring in our guest for the day. We've got Cordell Riley. We're talking about just some tourism statistics, folks. Let's give him a warm TDH welcome. All right.
Good morning. Good morning.
Welcome back. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Great to be back.
Yes, thank you.
You sure you want to come in here?
I'm here now.
It's an interesting room these days. But look, let's get right to it. Just for those who don't know, because you've been on for various topics before, you sit on various committees throughout Bermuda. Just tell the audience a bit about your background and what it is you do as far as research and statistics.
Okay, well, I have a bachelor's degree in hotel management. I have a master's degree in tourism marketing. I have a certificate in survey sampling, among others. At the Bermuda College, I do the institutional research, which means I'm their in-house statistician, but I do a lot of surveys. We do at least an annual political survey. Of course, we do private surveys for companies. And I just keep an eye on trends. That's basically what I do.
All right. And this is important, especially in a place where a lot of numbers are released without any real story behind them. The Bermuda Tourism Authority released, and Maya went in detail yesterday of their latest numbers, giving us the results from 2022. What stands out to you most from this report?
Well, there are a number of things. I was, I guess, rather surprised that we only received 146,000 air visitors. Obviously, it was up on 2021, but compared to 2019, it was about half the numbers. So we're still struggling. And also, of course, that means that the spending was down. Cruise arrivals were down as well, about 25% to 400,000. But I actually think that that was the right number. We should be having cruise arrivals around about 400,000 as we ramp up the bed numbers or the room numbers. I don't think the hoteliers were pleased with their 53% occupancy rate. That was down from the 63% in 2017. Now, the reason I emphasize 2017 because that was supposed to be the boom year for hoteliers because of the AC-35. So that either means the 53% isn't bad, or it means the 63% didn't live up to its expectations. Also, the room count. Now, the Roy Gazette this morning said the licensed beds were about 2,500, which is correct, but the available count. So the Southampton Princess is not in operation right now, but his beds are still licensed. So when an organization pulls out their establishment for renovations, they're still licensed, but they're not available. So the available bed count is only at 1,700, and that's down by about 25%, I think it is, compared to 2019.
Right. I'm sorry to stop you. Hold on. Because I read that and I was confused. And the article in the Royal Gazette says, according to the statistics, room numbers are marginally up on pre-pandemic levels. There were around 2,500 rooms available in 42 licensed properties last year, compared with 2,400 in 41 properties in 2019.
Correct.
I'm just asking because you're the data person. Is that not misleading from the BTA?
Well, they actually did. Well, they gave both figures. They gave the license account and they also gave the available rooms. So what was picked up on was the available rooms. But if you look at the data, you'll see that they said they gave the license count. The available rooms were 1,700. So about a third down on the available rooms because places like the Elbow Beach, places like the Southampton Princess or the Fairmont Southampton Princess, they're still closed. So that is why the beds are way down, even though the license count is marginally up because you've got a few properties that's come on board since then.
Interesting. Okay. Oh, sorry. Somebody.
Your face is not looking well. It is
Well,
what it
is. My face is very much like I'm interested.
Not yours. Your face is quite fine, thank you.
Oh, okay. Okay, got you. Some believe that the pandemic heavily impacted Bermuda's growing tourism numbers. Is this true? And what does your data tell you?
Well, obviously, the pandemic played a major role in the decline in the numbers. But back in 2019, when there was a forum here at the Bermuda College, Think Fast, I had pointed out that we had faced some headwinds going into 2020. The available beds was down. The number of air seats were down, and we're seeing that even softening even now. So we had those headwinds going into 2020. So we already had our problems before the pandemic. The pandemic has certainly made things worse, but we certainly had challenges before the pandemic.
Okay. And with that being said, other destinations have been setting records during and since the pandemic. How are they able to do it?
Well, that's an interesting one because there has been pent up demand, and people are traveling again. So I think part of that has to do with marketing. You have to let people know that you're open and available. We don't do as much marketing as we should be doing. And of course, we don't have the beds, so therefore the airlines don't see the need to bring in extra seating. So as other destinations are doing much well, as you mentioned, the Caribbean is doing extremely well. Africa is doing extremely well. In fact, my daughter is currently in Morocco. They couldn't even get a direct flight to Marrakesh where they wanted to fly to because the flights were all full. So obviously the destinations are doing something that's creating this demand. And once you have the demand, everything else follows suit.
Interesting. How can we get more honest and direct information regarding the state of Bermuda's tourism industry?
Well, the data clearly comes from the Bermuda Tourism Authority, and also you get airline data from uh, the um, the airport authority, and so you really have to trust the information that is given. So my whole role is when I look at that, I look at the trends and see how relevant the data is. So I don't think there is any fudging of the data. I mean, it is what it is. But those are the two repositories for primarily tourism data.
Charles H. Jefferson
Interesting.
II, former CEO of the BTA, says that when you look at the number of rooms sold, I would think that the number is much lower. That would make the hotel occupancy number even more concerning.
Oh yes, the 53% is not doing it for the hospitality industry, I think, and I don't know what the present metric is, but it used to be above 60% where you're breaking even, and so beyond 60%, so we hit 70, 65, 70, which we should be doing, particularly with the fewer number of beds. We should be moving that up, but we can't even fill the numbers that we have now. So that is very, very concerning that hotels only had 53% occupancy last year.
That's an interesting point. I was in a meeting, I want to say in December, November, and it was speaking about the numbers in the jurisdiction in which I work, and basically how occupancy was going down and everyone was celebrating. But the reason occupancy had gone down slightly, like point something percent, is because of the amount of added rooms that we have in the destination. So it's like one of those good problems, right?
Yeah. So if we had this, so we should have the problem in the reverse. We have less rooms, so we should see an occupancy in the hotels go up. But at 53%, I'm certain that they're not happy with that.
Interesting. All right, Cordell Riley, we're talking about tourism statistics today. Michelle White, she actually says, wait, we weren't we informed that the bed count has nothing to do with our inability to get people to Bermuda? How and why? I want to touch on that.
Well, I think so. What happens is when there's a lot of expansion, there's reasons for the airlines to provide more lift. And so when you don't have that expansion, the airlines pull back. So what you're seeing now is the Miami flight being taken away during the summer because, quite frankly, the demand isn't there in the summer. And so that is very concerning because that's our high season. So the bed count it's directly correlated to the number of visitors. The more beds you have, the more you can market, the more the seats you have, and the more growth you have. So when we have declining bed space, you see the results that are here now.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Let's talk about tourism events and things that the authority sponsors, right? We've got what does your data show you in terms of the true value from an event like the America's Cup and others like the sponsorship of the US Open? Like, have these been worth it for Bermuda?
Well, I think they have been worth it, but I don't think that the value that we've been told is worth is actually correct. So a lot of these things, they use what in the public relations field and the advertising value equivalent or advertising equivalent value. You'll see it as AVE or you see it as AEV. So for instance, the America's Cup, we were told, and basically that means that because of the publicity we got from it, if we had paid for that publicity, it would have cost X number of dollars. With regards to America's Cup, the AVE was about $100 million. So they're saying that, that money was included in what they said we earned $300 million from America's Cup. But the AVE is a check that you cannot cash. So, it's just a value to say that if you were to have paid for it, it would have cost you that amount of money, but it's not earnings from the America's Cup. So most reputable public relations institutions don't even use it anymore.
Interesting. I want to go back. Sean DeShields, he says, with less beds available to sell, the yearly occupancy rate still declined. So this is rather concerning. So he's basically saying with less beds available and occupancy rates still declining, it's a concern. And then just before you touch on that, Charles H. Jefferson II says 60% of a 100-room hotel is not the same as 60% of a 600-room hotel. And this is why I say, numbers and stats. Like people, I've always challenged statistics, even when they favored me. I've challenged them, right? And the reason you challenge statistics is because I always use the example. Two political opponents can use the same numbers to tell completely different stories. Just speak to what Charles has said here, Mr. Riley.
Right. So clearly, if you have a 600 room at 60%, that's quite good because you're talking about far, far more people there. So I think his point is alluding to is that we don't have a 600 room place that's open right now. We don't have the Abu Beach that's open right now. So so even a 60% or 70% of what we have now is not going to translate into the numbers. It was good for those properties that are open, but it is not necessarily the best thing for the community because we have less beds. So I think that's the point he was making.
Yeah, and he went on to say, I think that we should focus more on rooms sold versus occupancy as a destination. Based on your research, what's needed for Bermuda to be a competitive destination again? And before you answer that, I've learned so much. I mean, so much in the last couple of years. And when I say I've learned so much, I think, and this is no offense, and I know it's hard not to for people to be offended by what I'm about to say, but there's levels to this. There's levels to this. When, it's not, when honesty is not a sin when it's the truth, right? It shouldn't be. It really shouldn't be. And if you're offended by the truth, then you know what? Maybe you should go back and think about it and do something to make yourself better. But there's levels to it. When I see what other destinations are doing, the kind of competent people that are in these spaces doing the work, I'm not quite sure that Bermuda gets it based on what I see. We get excited about a new campaign. Other destinations, they release campaigns. I don't see that same excitement. Their excitement is in the results. So we get excited when we see a picture of a beautiful sunset, I always say, or a pretty pink sand beach. I just, something about the, you know how they always say it starts from the top? Something just doesn't seem right in the tourism space. And I don't think it started yesterday. I don't think it started 10 years ago. Probably not even 20 years ago. But there's something when what I've been able to learn outside of Bermuda, it just seems so different and foreign. And this, again, this is not to degrade Bermudians, but I always say, and Sherry, you can back me on this, when you work outside of the culture and country and what you're used to, it's like something just opens up. It's a different world. It's a different space. And I'm not quite sure that based on what the setup is right now, what we have is going to get us to a space of success and results. So without saying that, or I know you're not going to listen to me, how does Bermuda become competitive again?
Well, I think it starts with the level of service that we give. We can't do too much about the cost, and I've had about probably a dozen stay vacations since the beginning of the pandemic, and if you try, so I've experienced a lot locally from a visitor's perspective, and I think there's a lot that we can do on the service level that we aren't doing. And I think to their credit, the BTA is re-evamping what was known as the Certified Tourism Ambassador. They're doing a whole new program. And I think this is what we should have been doing during the pandemic, getting ready for the reopening so that on the service level, we are able to be competitive. Now, with regards to the cost, my anniversary is on the April 7th, and I had a real hard challenge getting a room in Bermuda for under $400 a night, because as you know, once we go from March to April, we're now into high season. That doesn't mean that the hotels are overpriced. It simply means that I'm not the target market. And so the thing is that you have to find that target market who's quite willing and happy to pay those prices at the service level that they're expecting. And I think that is where we fall down. And I'll give you a perfect example. Right now we're having restaurant weeks. We're having spa month, and I've been trying to call a very luxury hotel. I had to call 6 times before I got a response. No one would answer at the spa, and at this point, over 2 days. Today's the 3rd day. When I call again, and if I don't get in, I'll just move on to another hotel. But that shouldn't be happening. And I think the BTA did have a phrase about frictionless travel, so we should have frictionless experiences. So these are the kinds of things that we need to work out on the ground before we even start talking about we got to bring in more beds and more airlift and all of that. So I think there's a lot we could do, but we're not even getting the small things that we have control over right.
Well, Sherry said
That's awful.
Sherry said something that I really hope people actually do in their everyday life, right? Sherry, you said earlier when we were talking about the budget, you were saying, do they look at other places and, basically try to learn from them? And as tourist destinations, you should always be looking at what others do. That's how other destinations learn. They learn from us. They came to Bermuda and they learned from us. What destinations out there do you think Bermuda should be looking at and trying to replicate to, improve our tourism product and services?
Well, I think it may not be so much destinations as individual properties that, or chains of properties that are doing things right. So a lot of them had these repeat visitor programs. I remember years ago talking about a particular brand of hotels that when you check in, and Sean DeShields would tell you about the similar program that you used to have at Sanasto. Once a guest checks in, the hotel collects information on that particular person, and no matter where if you continue to stay at their chain, they bring up your reservation, so that if you like the soft pillow, if you like this, or you like, all of those things are kept there. And so that when you travel, and of course with the loyalty programs, you travel there, they know their customer. And so these are types of things that we have to be doing to an nth degree, but we don't seem to do the basic things that keep people coming back year after year. It's not like before when we had that repeat factor of over 40 something percent. And so that fact that number is gotten higher, which means that the only people that are really coming are those who are loyal to you. So you want that figure to go back down to around about the 40s or so, because what that means is that you're bringing in new people. And when you bring in new people, they spend more money, and then after they come back. So I think there's a lot of things, a lot of basic things. It's not rocket science that we need to be doing, but for some reason we don't do it. It's almost for me like the Disney model, or what I call the Tesco model. So when I lived in England, going to school in England, there was a big, what they call super center. We would call supermarkets near our home. And if I go there and I say, which aisle is the ketchup? They don't say, I think it's aisle 2, maybe it's aisle 3. They stop what you're doing and they take you right where it is. That service. So in that industry, that's how they compete. And so the customer knows that if they can't find something, somebody is going to tell them where it is, or take them to where it is. We've got to replicate that in the hospitality industry. The other thing we probably don't have time to talk about today, but we'll probably do this at the forum next week, is the impact of technology on the hospitality industry. And when that starts to take hold in Bermuda, the losses of jobs as a result of that. I think I mentioned to you before that when I was in Liechtenstein last October, and I go to check into my 4-star hotel, there's no front desk. There are kiosks. And you sent me a picture with a row of kiosks in some places, which is the front desk. And so the technology advances is going to change the industry. This is one of the last industries going to be shaped by technology. So we're not really prepared for all those things. We're still trying to get the basics right.
Yeah, we keep thinking that it's going to create hundreds of jobs when technology is telling us otherwise. Richard Scott
Yeah.
said the excitement is often in the campaign because the attraction has become swell words more than productivity and results. We also have Michelle White. She says, is it that tourism is a job and not a passion for those in the industry? We speak of country pride, but we aren't there yet either. To some, it's a dream job to work in the tourism space, but what is that dream? Is the dream to enjoy the fancy parties that you attend, the expensive wine and champagne, and the events that take place, or is it actually to deliver results? I tell you what, we say this all the time. There's a phrase on this show: businesses are not charities, nor should anything the taxpayers are backing. It shouldn't be treated as a charity. Real quickly before you head out. Simple question, very direct. Based on your research and data, is Bermuda better off under an authority than it was under a government department? Is tourism better off under authority than it was under a government department?
Well, I dealt with that topic in detail back in 2019, and the topic of my presentation was getting beyond the spin. And I left it open. I didn't. I presented the data, and I left it open to those who are in my hearing whether or not they felt that way. But according to the stats, it really showed that there was no difference. Because again, if you look at results, and you take out the pandemic, you look at the results. You look at prior to 2020, we are not anywhere near that is yet, and we weren't getting that. Like I said, we had headwinds going into 2020. So we had the America's Cup in terms of hotel visits didn't do as much as it was predicted. Remember, they talked about it was going to be the island's going to be so full that we're going to need cruise ships docked with people, et cetera, et cetera. But we ended up with 63% occupancy. So it didn't do a lot for the hospitality industry or the hotel industry that it was being predicted it was going to do something for. So you had 2017, 2018 was actually better, but and 2019 was starting to go down, but we were looking at more headwinds in 2020, and so we already had the challenges. So that tells me that the structural things that we have to deal with in tourism were not really being dealt with, and our response to that is simply to bring in more cruise ship passengers. So there was in 2019, I think it was 800,000 total visitors, but the vast majority of that was cruise visitors. So yeah, you can break open the champagne, but we don't do anything to bring a cruise passenger here. That is totally on the cruise line. And so that, to me, that was not really something to celebrate. So we have to deal with the structural things. And I think there is some interest. The silver lining is that there's still interest, in spite of all what we've said this morning. There's still interest in hotel development. And so if the people see that, people feel that way, then we should be doing the structural things to make sure that when we come back in line 2 to 3 years now in terms of the bed space, we would be fully ready, and Bermuda may not be where we were before, but I'm hoping that we will get beyond the 300,000 visitors.
I don't know if you'll agree with this or not. I just think that the BTA sharing cruise ship numbers as high as they were was so disingenuous. I honestly felt it was very disingenuous, knowing that their mandate is pretty much heads in beds. Mr. Riley, thank you so much for this conversation and the information and the record straight on a few things, even with myself. I'm looking forward to having you back, because definitely technology and tourism and jobs could be a conversation in itself. So thanks so much, and looking forward to speaking with you soon.
Yes, within a week or so. No,
yes,
28. Yeah, of course. That's
All righty.
Thank you again. It's been a pleasure.
Cordell Riley, folks, appreciated the conversation. Give us a thumbs up. I love it. Like, we're going to do a giveaway. We haven't done a giveaway in a while, so let you know the hashtag early. We're going to hashtag the Daily Hour. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do a giveaway today. stick with us. We'll be right back. Do the giveaway. We'll wrap it up, and it's the Sherry Plate.
A lot happens around your home. That is why at One Communications, we have introduced affordable security and video monitoring, because everyone should be able to afford to protect their family. Anytime, from anywhere, One Home Security keeps you connected and puts security in your hands with an easy-to-use smartphone app to control everything. Home security is important to keep you and your family safe. Motion-activated cameras around your home and security monitoring within create a complete security system providing protection both inside and outside your home. Professional monitoring means that there's someone on call with 24/7 protection to notify the authorities and help keep you and your loved ones safe. We are dedicated to whole home protection with indoor and outdoor cameras, smart door locks, motion sensors, and more, so you'll always be connected to what matters most. With professional installation, no upfront hardware fees, and low monthly rates, because keeping your family safe should be affordable for everyone. Total home video monitoring and security, there's no better way to protect your home than with One Home Security.
All right. Thanks again to Mr. Cordell Riley for that conversation about some data with tourism. Thanks again to One Communications, Medical House Windows, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring that we can have guests on to have those kind of conversations again. Hashtag is the Daily Hour. We'll be doing a giveaway. So hashtag the Daily Hour. We'll tell you what the giveaway is after you play. So it's time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Bermuda Trivia, now available at stores throughout Bermuda. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. Sherry, are you ready?
Sure, Jamal.
What was that about? My goodness. It's a good one. You'll like this one.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, hold on. Let me see what the answer to it is first. Oh, I wouldn't have guessed it. So I'm being honest. I wouldn't have, but I think you'll get it. Okay, here we go, folks. What color is the uppermost part of a rainbow?
Is it red?
I would not have guessed that. Seriously. Why did yellow was the first one that came to me?
Yellow, I think, is usually at the bottom, I think.
Yeah, I would not have guessed that, folks. Seriously.
Because I did go through like red, blue, green, indicate, like, yeah.
Red, but yeah, I don't know why yellow came to me. All right, let's get final thoughts. See, everybody else, violet, someone said. Well, red, Tamara said. Violet, Diane Elliott said. Red, Richard Scott got. All right.
I got it.
She got it. The Daily Hour, hashtag the Daily Hour for today's giveaway. Final thoughts on today's discussion about the budget, and then obviously the conversation with Cordell Riley. What you got for us, Sherry?
Well, final thoughts, like we had 3 or 4 different in-depth conversations today, which was great. But in regards to the budget, I think you said it. Can we just have something very layman and very direct? And I really enjoyed Maya's point of view of, giving us answers to solutions from the previous budget and what does the solutions look like for 2023 and 2024. As far as Cordell Riley, I'm always like back here looking and my face is different because I'm actually really taking in what he has to say and really learning. I appreciate that he broke down a lot of the information about tourism and being competitive. So I just thought the overall conversation was great, and they kind of go hand in hand. And then we had that mini education discussion in the middle there, but that was great as well.
You're right again. I think they do go hand in hand. And from a budget perspective, I think Bermudians just want to feel that their government is competent enough to deliver a budget that's going to benefit them. That's the be all end all I see in it, and hopefully it's a great budget today. Not a great one. I mean, it's the best you can get. The government has to make some cuts, but hopefully it's one that people feel will benefit them. As far as Mr. Riley, honestly, I'm glad that he is comfortable coming on to discuss statistics and the research that he's done over the years. And I think it's along the lines, the BTA has been honest. It's not the BTA's fault that there's no hotels in Bermuda. Let's be clear. It's not their fault that people are not as, hospitable as they once were, right? The BTA's job is to market Bermuda as a destination to drive visitors, but everyone actually plays a role in that. However, I do think disingenuous, a couple things they do with the numbers.
Yeah.
It's better to be honest up front because later you don't have to explain yourself. That's the way I see it. But hey, anyone who's in the tourism space to try to make it better for Bermuda and Bermudians, keep doing your thing. But let's just be very upfront, transparent. Say it for me, Sherry.
Transparent.
There we go. As we discuss solutions to our tourism issues. All right, it's time for the get. Tamara did not ask what's the hashtag for. My goodness. You see that? My goodness.
I try to look past it.
Mike, you give her a spanking in the Sherry, I'm got a question.
I'm listening.
What's the M stand for in your name?
Marie.
But that was my mom's middle name, really.
See? She's working through me.
Let's do the giveaway. All right, who's gonna be? Let's do it.
It better be Rosalind Famous.
Let's do it. Drum roll. We haven't done this in a while. Let's do it. Who's gonna be the lucky person? Who's gonna be the Sheikah?
Sheikah!
And I'm dropping my sunglasses that I put on yesterday. Sheikah, I'm all excited for you. Congratulations, Sheikah. And you know, she was a member of the TDH community. She actually gave a great donation to us the other day, folks. You too can do that donation. This is not fixed. She didn't win just because she gave a donation. But congratulations to Sheikah. Please send an email to engage@thedailyhour.com, Sheikah, so that we can get you your gift. Sherry, you've got some daily inspiration for us before we head out?
I do. Not everything faced can be changed, but nothing can change until it's faced. That's from James Baldwin.
I love that.
Ideal.
We have to face the issues of the day. We can't hide from them. We can't run from them.
No. Nope.
All right, Sherry. Well, I know, Sherry. I know. Stop. Just crying, folks. She's upset that this is the end of the show. I'm sorry. It's okay. It's okay.
I'm crying because I wouldn't be seeing the audience, but inside I'm just like, oh gosh, I'm not going to see Jamal for a little while, which is fine.
Wow, folks, there's no show on Monday because Shara's taking the day off. No, we're off on Monday. We'll be back on Tuesday.
We are. Okay.
Yeah, I just remembered that actually. Yeah, it's something we call President's Day in the United States, and we're gonna take, we're gonna take those holidays. We're not like most companies. You only take certain holidays. We're taking Bermudian holidays. We're taking U.S. holidays. Let us know if you want us to take any English holidays too. Anyway, folks,
federal government.
Let us know. We'll help you out. We try to give you some days off. We don't want you waking up early all the time. Anyway, thanks again to our partners, Medical House, One Communications, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy, for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you on Tuesday. All right? On Tuesday. So, on that note, she's Sherry Vanderpool. I'm Jamal Hartman. My friends, please do make it a safe and a great weekend. If you want to join us this weekend to do a KBB cleanup this weekend on Sunday, please send an email to engage@thedailyhour.com or just go on thedailyhour.com and fill out the contact form, and we will get back to you with details if you want to join us this Sunday. All right? Anyway, Sherry, we're out. Peace.